Mary Sharon Obara. I'm a skin influencer, a lawyer to be, a mediator, arbitrator, and a hustler in general. Okay, so basically skin influencer is I get to review products that are good for my type of skin, and I get to recommend to people what works for my type of skin and what could possibly work for any type of skin issue you have. So that entails working with a lot of brands, big brands, smaller brands, but it's all about how the product is formulated and the ingredients that are good for African, East African skin, basically. Before the pandemic, I can't say life was easy, but it was smooth. It was smooth in the sense that nothing was disrupted. I would go to school, I was still continuing doing what I was doing, which is hustling, but I wasn't a skin influencer then. I would just review the products and for myself and my family. I wouldn't really, during that time I wasn't a skin influencer because, like you said, there was nobody in the market and it was new, and I hadn't tapped into that genre yet. So before the pandemic, I was just a regular, normal Kenyan. So I had a very smooth pregnancy. My baby was healthy, 4.2 kgs, if I'm correct. An eater. It was smooth. I went to get medical attention, and at the time I had actually lost my job prior to, because I was doing consulting at the time. So being pregnant, I can't really go for field work, so I'm left for research work. And research work at that time was not really paying as much as getting per diems from field work. So I said, okay, there's government initiatives like Linda Mama as a backup. There's NHIF as a backup, just in case one of them goes wrong. And I don't know why I kept telling myself that I have to be prepared because something can easily go wrong. So I ensured I took my vitamins, never missed a hospital visit, a single one, until that day. So I needed to access hospital, but when I interacted with the police, they wanted a huge amount of money because at the time my partner was a foreigner. And here in Kenya, once they hear you're a foreigner, that's it. They even started calling me a foreigner because that's it. We need a certain amount of money to pass. And I ended up just rushing to a hospital that didn't really know my background because I didn't really want to give birth in the car. And I don't have money to pay you guys. That money is a lot within the time it's going. So when I reached the hospital, there's no doctors. I don't know there's no doctors. They're not telling me there's no doctors. And immediately I'm given to a student. I don't know he's a student on internship or whatever. The things that he's doing, it's a bit weird. But I'm trying to tell him, I used to go to seminars, but this part I wasn't told. You know, this part what you're doing, every single time you're checking my sentiments, something is wrong. But they were like, you're a first mom. I forgot the name of the first mom, what they give you, but you're a first mom, you're just panicking, things are gonna go okay. Then that was like around 7. So they induced me at 7, I remember. And the drug they used to induce me was not the drug I was studying about. It wasn't the drip. It was actually a pill. So it was physical induction with a pill. And I'm asking questions like, no, this is just another type of medicine. It's still doing the induction. And immediately the pain is excruciating. And you can imagine at the time, you're like, oh, it's your first time, don't worry. There's no education even to the degree of pain you should go through when you're going through this thing. So everybody is just cool, calm, and collected. My water breaks at 11 p.m. The color of the water is a bit weird. And my partner at the time was like, something is wrong. Something is really, really wrong. And he's really trying to be calm so that I'm not, because remember, I'm shouting and I'm doing the most. I'm in excruciating pain. So they check my centimeters, and I remember I was 10 centimeters dilated, which means I'm ready to actually start pushing. And we go to the labor ward with my partner. And I remember he kept asking questions like, is this what's supposed to be done? Is this? And I remember the doctor told him to step out because it's unethical to be in the room. And at the time, I'm lying there and I'm like, no, it's not unethical, but I can't even raise my hand. I'm in excruciating pain. So he insists, no, I'm not going. I'm the father. I need to be here. There's no way this is unethical. And immediately the nurse just escorts him outside. The moment he goes outside, that's when everything went south. Because now I can't check the other side. I'm literally going with the nurse. I'm even begging the nurse to help me. Like, help me. You're not helping me. You're just standing there. I'm seeing them struggle because my water broke at 11. By the time I'm pushing, it's 5 a.m. That is a long time without oxygen for a kid. And I don't know why they would not tell me there's no theater, there's no doctor to operate. So I thought they wanted to stall so I don't go to another hospital. Remember, it's pandemic time. Everyone wants to make a bit of money. So by the time they think they're searching for the heartbeat, and I'm like, yeah, I've been pushing for hours. You've induced me now with the 2 times with the drip. You're telling me to push on a contraction, but I'm not feeling a contraction now. Now the pain is not subsiding. And I could see the panic in their face, and immediately I scream. My partner comes in like forcefully, and I tell him, I'm gonna die here. I remember I told him I'm just gonna die here. And I passed out. And the next thing I'm hearing is somebody is trying to help me up. They're not calling the ambulance. My partner is now, and my mom is just very annoyed at this point. So they're just like, we need to get you to the nearest hospital. Or we go to the hospital because it's around 6 now. The cops are not there now. Let's try walk. And you remember, I'm 10 centimeters dilated. There is no way I'm walking to the cab. So I struggle. No wheelchair, no nothing. Because I think they realized that the baby had already died. According to the information I got from the latter hospital, that these people knew your baby was going to die. And in Kenya, if a baby dies in the hospital, you have to be accountable for it. So, like you say in Swahili, wali rushangori kwa the next hospital. It was now the next hospital's fault. By the time I'm getting there, the hospital they referred me was Mbagathi. But by the time I'm getting to Mbagathi, everything is full. The guards in Mbagathi are not really, no wheelchair, no nothing. So I'm walking to the ward, and you know how that distance. And I'm in excruciating pain. I'm bleeding. I'm losing blood. I'm passing out. My sister's literally giving me glucose to just keep resuscitating me and keeping me alive. And for me to wake up from where I was to even stand up, I had to forcefully leave the hospital. They didn't really want to discharge me or even write for me the discharge note or even bring an ambulance, because they knew if I die in their ambulance, they'll still be accountable. So by the time I'm getting to the next hospital was 7 in the morning, around 7:38, 11 to 8. And that time, the baby's heartbeat was still there, but it was very weak. And I remember when the first thing my doctor checked was like, how are you pushing with the full bladder? It is impossible for you to push with the full bladder. 2, this baby is impossible for you to push this baby. Anybody can see it. So he's just like, I'm taking you to the theater. I don't even, ISO, NHIF, the payment. Just, this girl is going to die here. And I remember it was on a Sunday, so there's not that much traffic in the hospital on Sunday morning. Because if I would have come on another day, I would have probably lost my life. So this surgeon from St. Mary's actually saved my life. And I remember he told me, like, your kid is probably dead. And if he's alive, he will be a disability child, because that movement has crushed his head. And he has a very, very bad head injury, because that previous hospital kept testing your centimeters every 1 hour. So I'm listening to these things and I'm just like, I'm in pain. You're telling me I'm going through all this pain and the kid is dead. So I'm shouting at this point, like, somebody help me. And the moment I did that, the surgeon took me in and was like, find me forward. This girl will die here. depending on the things I'm seeing. And we can't save her. And I remember they gave my partner a choice on who to save at that moment. He was given a choice, like, if it comes to it, like, who would we save? And immediately he was just like, you need to save my partner at this time. And I commend him because he was very fast and diligent to act. My mom was really emotional, so she was a bit scared on what to do. And he was really, really like, we do this, we move, you guys need to save my partner. I remember he even donated for me like 3 bags of blood because I have O positive and it's very hard to get O positive at that time. So I needed like 4 bags of blood after that. And the surgeon was like, Sharon, you have to fight. What I'm going to do can go either way. Your kid is gone. You have to fight. And I even remember, when they're doing the surgery, you're awake. You're half awake. So I'm passing out because I've lost so many blood. And the surgeon is just trying to talk to me, just trying to just console me. And I remember he kept saying, I'll ensure you can have kids. And that was enough for me to fight, because I was like, ensure I can have more kids. Like, that's the last thing I told him. And I passed out after that. I went through shock when I lost the kid, to a point I could not even cry. And you see, I can't even be discharged if I'm not showing emotion. So the doctor is like, you lost your kid, but I'm like, no, I didn't. So I went through a very big, bad traumatic shock where my family is crying, I've lost a kid, and I'm literally looking at them like, why are you people crying? My kid is just sleeping. And you see, it's very heartbreaking, them breaking it to me again and again and again and again, that, we don't want to lose you through this episode, and this is the reality. And you need to come back to reality. And that could be every day. You see, we're in the house together, and I'd forget that, I'm looking for my baby in the middle of the night. So it needed a lot of patience from my friends and my family. Constantly on phone, constantly, even with my friends who are not in the country, like Jocelyn, she'd be constantly on the phone with me every night, just through the crying and everything. She's just like, release and talk to us. Don't keep anything in. Going through a magnitude loss of like losing a child through, let me just say, negligence, and through unavoidable circumstances, because there is no point, during my pregnancy did I imagine that I would actually go through it. I mean, nobody does. So I'm entering the pandemic where I'm under lockdown, I'm healing, I'm confined in 1 or 2, 3 rooms, and I'm dealing with a lot. I'm dealing with a huge loss in my life. I can't access my therapist. I have to do sessions virtually. It's a bit frustrating because sometimes my internet is down, the internet is down, so I'm really getting frustrated. It was very frustrating because I want to talk to people, I want to interact, I want to start healing this traumatic experience. And I can't do that because I'm limited to where I go. I'm even limited to the rooms I go to, so I'm in the bed most of the time. Through the internet, I got to interact with similar women from all around the world who've gone through the same thing, because I just wanted somebody who would understand how I'm feeling. Not that I didn't get the support from my friends and my family. I just feel like nobody is understanding how I'm feeling, how this is affecting me. And I don't know who to talk to. So I went through the internet to try to find other women who've gone through this type of scenario and what they did. And I was shocked to find like so many women of different class status, people who are wealthy, people who are not, people who are students, people who are now single parents, people who even lost their ovaries completely to even have kids. So through that, it gave me motivation that, these people could do it. I mean, I can do it too. And that's when I started now my journey to heal. But it wasn't easy because every day you have to push yourself, and you're dealing with corona, you can't even go out to even get sick, because I was very, 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 very afraid at the time. I'm so blessed to have a very supportive family and a very tight group of friends who would understand that, when you go through such a thing, you don't want to hear sorry. You don't want to hear anybody tell you, hey, I'm sorry for your loss, because at that time you're not thinking it's a loss. At that time you're thinking, hey, all these things went unfair. if this COVID wasn't there, I wouldn't be here. So you telling me sorry at that time, they had to change their language. They had to go with my pace. They had to really, really act as if things were normal. And at the time, I really needed people to act as if things are normal, because I'm really not okay. I'm easily triggered. I'm easily angered. So if you tell me sorry, you'd be compassionate, but I'm triggered. I'm highly triggered. So I'll just be emotional, and we don't know what we're going to do after that. So my friends and my family was really there with me every step. In episodes where I'd really get angry even with them, like, because I don't know who to blame. I'm blaming myself, I'm blaming God, I'm blaming the government, I'm even blaming them. Like, you didn't do this, I wish you did this, I wish you noticed this. And that understanding where you don't get angry with me until where I calm down and I can reason properly was a lot. My family too had to go through counseling because they didn't know how to deal with the loss either. So every single one is committed to my healing, and I'm very, very grateful for that. One thing I learned is life happens. And when it happens, you use everything you have to survive. As long as it's legal. Use everything, you have it in you. That's what I can say. I realize I'm stronger than I thought I was. And I realize I have a lot of endless opportunity. Even interacting with people who have not gone through it, they got to learn through my experience. You know, having gone through people who want to even have kids and can't, we're in the same category without knowing, because the stigma is actually the same. One thing I realized about me is I'm very, very patient. And I needed to be, because it's a everyday journey. I'm not okay. I can't say today, like, I didn't cry in the morning. I can see a baby and it's back. The tears are back. But in that moment, I cry. I don't hold it in. I don't look for something to suppress what I'm feeling. And I don't pretend when I'm down. I face it. And I'm like, I'm feeling this now to remind me of where I'm going. I survived for a reason. There's a lady who didn't really survive. So that's enough for me. And I realized I'm always hoping for the future, and I'm always looking forward. That's because before it hit me, I would only look at now and what I'm doing now, and maybe what I'm doing when it comes to work, other thing. I wouldn't really look at myself as a person, look at the type of human being I am to another human being. So it taught me a lot of empathy, having to go through that. Yeah, empathy was the biggest lesson in all of this. I'm not the same person before this went through me. Like, I'm a different person altogether, and I'm a better person. That's the thing. Weirdly, it pushed me to be a better human being and a better person, a better friend, a better family member, a better sibling, a better businesswoman, a better everything. I started seeing opportunities, because when you're in a life or death situation, you realize, I'm very lucky to even be here. First of all, I would suggest a bit of education to the authorities, that some cases are not civil or criminal cases. Some cases it's really, really a life or death situation, and it's an emergency. And it's more of removing yourself from being self-centered and looking at the life of your fellow Kenyan. I think that's Ubuntu in nature. And I think there's a bit of disconnect between the authority, us, and the Ubuntu nature of where, at the end of the day, I'm human, you're Kenyan, I'm Kenyan. I need medical attention. Whatever you're asking me in between, I need medical attention right now. This is a life or death situation. I would also suggest, like, women rep and other people to get involved in their constituents and see that this thing is really, really deep. Some women lost their kids in their house, okay, because they could not access any medical attention. How come we empower the midwives? Remember, the midwives were coming through when the doctors were not there. I've met so many women who, if not for the midwife, everything would have gone wrong. So more of empowering also that sector in our community, that there's local midwives who, they might not be medically, equipped, and can be equipped to do these things professionally, where it's safe for both of us. Another thing is, like, the stigma of losing the kid. That thing is, until you experience it, I never used to think it was there. I really never used to think it was there. I think we're so cultural that it's associated with our cultural beliefs that when you lose a kid, something is really wrong with you. And I was in awe when I was experiencing it from people I know, just because I had gone to a point where I remember I gave out all my things, everything I had. Anybody who was pregnant, the moment I hear you're pregnant, I would come and pick anything you want. Come and shop, because it will help you prevent or uplift you. Another thing is setting up small groups or small businesses for type of this type of category of people where we are only united by laws. So what can we do to empower each other and empower other people on what to do? So I remember I looked at the UN organizations. I started looking at the government policies. Thank God for law, because I could know exactly what to look. And there was a big, big gap. There was a very, very, very big gap. It's the same people with children with disabilities. There's a lot of stigma they go through, but nobody really mentions it, because we're more into the gender equality thing. But even in our gender equality as women, I suffered discrimination from women, the same people who are supposed to empower me. So it's a lot of education, I think, virtually, through the newspapers, through the television adverts. Just the same way we did with COVID, wash your hands every day, it's the same education we need to tell people like, yo, this is what you watch out to. This is what you should do. This is what you should not do. If your medical practitioner does this, immediately you know something is going to go wrong. Because I trusted the medical practitioner, that they know what they're doing. But I ended up suffering because of the same person. Yeah, that's all I can say. I think more initiatives with the youth also, even with the church, even in the church, any way to spread the message where somebody will come out and say, I suffered child loss, because you fear, if I tell these people, everyone is going to run away from me. So that's not one thing I tell people the first thing I meet them, like, yo, I suffered child loss, because immediately they're going to take their children away from me. And it's going to be then I'm back to square one mentally. I'm not fully okay. I take every day as it comes. Some days I'm weak, very, very weak mentally. But I remember that there was an exchange that happened. And thank God for that surgeon. He told me, Sharon, your kid is giving you life. You can decide to go or you can decide to fight. I will do my best. As you can see, I'm doing my best. I'm going against protocol to do my best. So that usually keeps me going. Like, somebody who doesn't know me would sacrifice for me. Let me sacrifice for other people. I will always advocate we stop buying things, buying cold clothes for the baby. Instead, looking at the things you should be looking at. Let the baby come and you buy all the clothes you can buy. The thing is having the baby here, having the mother okay. Because there's some women who actually give birth and they go through post-traumatic stress still. So this thing, it's all about don't act strong, which I would tend to do so that I avoid talking about the scenario. I would just play it cool. Like, me, I'm okay. Please don't tell me sorry. And that was breaking me. After I went through therapy, I realized it was just a coping mechanism and a defense mechanism. And therapy has helped me a lot, because this stranger doesn't know me, has nothing to do with me, can listen to me, and can help me see another perspective than what I'm seeing. So what I can tell females is that you can endure a lot. Even the male, my parting shot is my partner was hit more than me, because everyone is looking at me. Nobody was looking at what he's going through. So we would go through grief and would even end up into an argument because he doesn't have anybody to talk to. Nobody is looking at him. Everyone is looking at my health. So look at the guy's perspective too, because they are hit harder than us, actually. And I learned that through going through the process. And I appreciate strangers through the social media, which I was shocked that there's still good people who would understand. And it's not more of like bringing you down or faking. Because for me to even post it, it was months after I had went through the loss, because I didn't want anybody to trigger me at that moment. And I snap on somebody on social media because I'm going through something. So Find a way to make yourself happy. Life is hard. Find a way to make yourself happy. As long as you're happy, that's it. Stress will always be there, but you rather be happy with stress than sad and depressed and stressed. So yeah, that's all I can say.